Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment. And I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media. And it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. And another positive for U.S. citizens, the U.S. Secretary General Mark Rutte of the Netherlands has said Europe needs to spend the required amount, especially as Donald Trump has been reelected. It would seem that because Biden was elected, they decided they could go back to their old ways and rely completely on the U.S. This means that people in Europe will feel the burden lightly in their own protection again. People in the U.S. should be aware of this, as it is their tax dollars that Europeans see as what they should rely on. This comes after they started fearing Russia when the nation invaded Ukraine after NATO broke their promises by offering membership to the former Soviet states. Now there are more concerns after Putin had started talking about using nukes, which means there would be even less time for a more concentrated U.S. effort to support underfunded European troops. The American military covering their failings so they can have socialist-style government seems to be at an end. All this is going to be in my Substack down below. And here via the AP is what is known about the plan to defend NATO from Russia that were made in mid-2024. U.S. President Joe Biden and his NATO counterparts on Tuesday endorsed the biggest shakeup since the Cold War of the way the military alliance could respond to any attack on its territory by Russia. Inspired in part by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the highly secretive defense plans lay out which of the 31 member countries could be called on to respond to an attack anywhere from the Arctic and the Baltic Sea region through the northern Atlantic and south to the Mediterranean and Black Seas. Peace in the Euro-Atlantic area has been shattered, the leader said in a statement laying out the twin threats posed by Russia and terrorism. Together, this family of plans will significantly improve our ability and readiness to deter and defend against any threats, including on short or no notice, and ensure timely reinforcement of all allies. The leaders, meeting in Vilnius, Lithuania, committed to fully resource and regularly exercise these plans to be prepared for high-intensity and multi-domain collective defense. Under the new plans, NATO commanders will know more clearly what troops and equipment they would have at their disposal and how long it would take to have them in place, officials said. Under the new plans, NATO aims to have up to 300,000 troops ready to move to its eastern flank within 30 days. The plans divide its territory into three zones: a high north, the Atlantic area, and a zone north of the Alps, and another in southern Europe. The planning was based on the strength of the Russian army before President Vladimir Putin launched the war on Ukraine almost 17 months ago. The war has depleted Russia's army, but not its Navy or Air Force, top NATO brass say. NATO's 31 member countries took part in a fourth generation conference in late June in an effort to understand how many troops and how much equipment the alliance might have at its disposal to respond to any Russian attack, both in the short and longer term. Senior officials were upbeat about the results, though they declined to provide details for security reasons. Experts and some NATO diplomats, however, have expressed doubt about the willingness of member countries to put a total of 300,000 troops on standby. One part of the process that has not been streamlined is a need for all 31 allies to approve launching the new plans in case of attack, and certain points once they are put into action. Such political decisions, which require consensus, can be time-consuming. And here via military.com is what NATO is saying now that Trump has been elected. NATO Security General Mark Rutte has led a fresh push on Wednesday for European countries to ramp up defense spending, a budget shortfall that President-elect Trump used to berate U.S. allies during his first term in office and severely damaging trust. After Russia annexed Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula a decade ago, NATO leaders agreed to halt the defense cuts that began when Cold War ended and move towards spending 2% of the GDP on their military budgets. Since Russia launched its full-fledged invasion almost 3 years ago, the leaders have agreed that the 2% target should be a floor rather than a ceiling for defense spending. On average, U.S. allies combine that figure, but around a third of the members still do not individually. Trump, who takes office on January 20th, threatened not to defend delinquent countries. NATO is founded on the principle that an attack on any member must be considered an attack on them at all. Trump's remark undermined confidence that the U.S. could be counted on in a crisis. If you want to keep the deterrence at present level, 2% is not enough, told reporters after chairing a meeting of the NATO foreign ministers in Brussels. We can now defend ourselves and nobody should try to attack us, but I want that to stay the same in 4 or 5 years. Well, it seems that their citizens will have to finally be concerned about their own defense. Europe for too long has taken U.S. tax dollars for granted. If you pay attention, we have been spending way too much money on European interest and not our own. There comes a point that you just look at the entire situation and go, you know what? Yeah, they need to defend their own problems, not us. Russia is a problem to us, sure. But at the same time, Europe should be taking care of themselves because you don't know what can happen. What happens if we get attacked on our west coast? Well, we don't need to be fighting a two-front war at this moment. Can we build up to that? Yes. But it gets ridiculous that these European countries are constantly going, oh, the U.S. needs to do this, while they have been building up their socialist states, and it's all because we've been spending our tax dollars so they can do that. This needs to end. They need to take care of themselves. Their citizens should feel the burdens, and it should not be that they constantly scream, oh, the U.S. this, the U.S. that. That needs to end now. Why? Because we've got our own problems here. We've got a federal government that won't even take care of their own citizens. Take a look at what's happening in Western North Carolina. Still. Take a look at what's happening all over this country. Still. Yes. We're allied with them. Not particularly happy about that, but you know what? We're allies. We're not their bank. We're not their charity giver. And that's time for that to end. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're conservative, I don't care if you're liberal, I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.